watching an update about New World's season 3 that's coming out on the 3rd of October. It's gonna be cool because they've changed a lot of things, a lot of things, and this is super exciting. I mean, it's super exciting for me anyways. If you guys don't know this, I have always been looking for a home in MMORPG. Like, they're fantastic. You can spend hours and hours and hours. It's a long-term game. Do you know what I mean? It's a long-term game. It's beyond a game. It's a world. You end up immersing yourself and basically living in that world when you switch off and you want an escape. It's escapism. That's really what it is. So for me, I've always been I've been hopping on about looking for an MMO that feels like it suits me, right? And so we have played New World. If you guys don't know this, I did play New World last year. New World's just released an update now, which is some pretty exciting news. So it's only a 2-minute video. We'll check this out. I want to get into it. I managed to get my character up to level 56 or 57. I can't remember. The max level is 60, right, folks? So there's some news on that as well. So here it is: New World: Rise of the Angry Earth announcement trailer. This should be season 3. Changes coming to Aeternum. The region formerly known as First Light has been ravaged by the fury of Artemis and the angry earth. This abundance of earthly powers has awakened the mighty beast lords, a new possible adversary facing the people of Aeternum. But with them also comes a boon: the secret to taming and riding animals. Mount up on October 3rd, 2023. I feel super nerdy right now, but when I read that the first time, you could not wipe the smile off my face because finally we're gonna get mounts. He's so cute. Want him as a wallpaper.
Has no claim on the Eternal Isle.
It seems to be good now. Is this the new mount?
And yet, change will come.
Is that the new mount?
Eternity wasted on human ambition.
That can't be the new mount.
Nature must rise and reign.
Yes. That's me.
Mighty lords, let us cleanse these lands.
But the future is fixed for neither man nor beast.
Oh, nice. Ooh, you killed my friend.
End them.
Oh!
Change
Cool.
is coming for us all.
Even the world looks nice. Okay. Nice. Yeah. So there is a follow-up, obviously, which is this video over here, where these guys talk about the creative director, senior product manager, and lead seasons designer, where they talk about what's coming in season 3. I was getting confused by American dating system. Wait, what? What? What are you talking about? We're talking about New World's updates.
Kind of have this anxiety about spending these emerald shards that take a lot of time and effort to earn, and we recognize that. So in order to smooth out that process, items are just going to drop at the higher item levels appropriate to the content that you're doing. You don't need to invest an extra resource into leveling them up or anything.
Okay. I miss it. I'm not gonna lie. I've missed playing New World.
All right, welcome to Forged in Aeternum, where we talk about all things New World. Today we have a very special episode of Balance of Power. we are going to be talking not about creating balance, but about breaking balance by introducing a bunch of new stuff in Season 3. So we're going to go a little bit away from the format and talk about upcoming changes to the gear. To help me go through this all, I'm joined by Patrick Smedley, our seasons design lead, who's now also working and leading the progression team. And Drew Higbee, a player with over 2,000 hours in New World.
Whoa.
Also our product manager, but don't hold that against him.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into all the big changes coming in Season 3. But before we do that, I want to talk a little bit about some of the problems we've had and what the sort of goals to fix them are. Drew, you mind kicking us off here?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that we had as we played through and we watched players play through the game is right when you hit level 60, there's this extra level, this extra barrier to getting good gear, which is the expertise system. And we decided that it's just not necessary anymore. We're just removing the expertise system. So if you really loved it, sorry, it's going away. But it's just entirely removed from the game now. You don't have to level up your gearing by picking up a few rings to be able to get level 600 rings or anything like that anymore. They just drop based on the type of content that you're clearing, and you'll get appropriate item level rewards for that content.
Awesome. And what about Umbral upgrading? Any changes there?
Yeah, for sure. I think one of the other things is you would get a piece of gear and you would say, oh, do I want to invest my Umbral shards in this piece of gear? It's kind of an upgrade for me right now, but it's not the best piece of gear that I want long term. I kind of have this anxiety about spending these Umbral shards that take a lot of time and effort to earn, and we recognize that. So in order to smooth out that process, items are just going to drop at the higher item levels appropriate to the content.
I think for me,
you don't need to.
I think for me, because I haven't played this game in a while, I've kind of forgotten the stuff. Like he was just talking about the currency. I guess it reminds me of Diablo's, what were they called? Obols? Was that what they were called? Extra currency that you could use to scale your gear up. I can't remember for New World, so this is interesting. I'm not fazed by this, I guess, until I jump back in there and go, oh yeah,
invest an extra resource into leveling them up or anything.
Awesome. And Patrick, any concerns about the bloat maybe of drops that we've had?
Yeah, we drop a lot of items in our game. If you run an expedition, you're probably coming out of that with about 40 to 50 items. So as a player, you're then having to sift through your inventory, figure out what items you want to keep, what you want to sell, and then what you're just going to salvage. It's not a super fun inventory management minigame, so we're not very happy with where that is right now. So with that in mind, we want to give you less loot, but we want that loot to matter more. So what that means is the loot that you do acquire should be higher quality, so it should be more useful for you. That'll come with a new system called loot biasing, which we'll talk about in a little bit.
That's awesome.
I guess the only good thing about getting a lot of loot is that you end up making more money. But now they're saying they're going to reduce the amount of loot and they're going to give us the right type of loot, like the stronger stuff that's more applicable to us, which is I think that's a good idea. Yeah.
What about chase items? Any issues there, Drew?
Yeah, I think throughout the game, there's a few different items that drop that have like the 3 perks that you really, really want. And so in a way, those are chase items. But the reality is they're not 3 perks that you couldn't get in any other combination or crafting or anything like that. So what we wanted to do is we wanted to add new chase items to the game that are really impactful and have unique perks. To that end, we're adding artifacts to the game, which we'll talk about a little bit more.
Awesome.
I feel like the interview is not moving very smoothly. Why do we have to talk about it in a little while? Why can't we just talk about it now?
Yeah, if you're a crafter right now, a lot of your life involves around rolling these items and hoping you're going to roll the perfect item. It's a lot of RNG, and it's not super compelling because you don't have a lot of control over the item you're ultimately making. So for the expansion, we want to give players the opportunity to craft gear that means more to them so they can understand what they're crafting more cleanly. To that end, we're reducing the ranges that items can roll and instead replacing them with fixed gear scores so you know exactly the power of the item you're creating. And we're also giving crafters a way to craft exactly the item they want down to every single perk, which we will talk about more when we talk crafting.
Okay.
Awesome. And last sort of issue, what about any issues with perks we've seen, Drew?
Well, you mentioned I'm a product manager. We do love data. One of the things we did is we looked at all the different perks across the game. We looked at their use rates. We looked at their effectiveness. We looked at why people were using them in certain circumstances. Because just because something wasn't being used a lot doesn't necessarily mean that it wasn't useful for players. And we did a pass, and we're removing some, we're changing some, and we're adding a few more perks.
Well, some pretty big changes here coming. I think it's fair to call it sort of like an overhaul to the loot system in New World. Well, let's start. Are there any big progression pieces that we should be aware of, Drew?
Yeah, so one of the exciting things is we're actually increasing the level cap to level 65. So there's a
Okay.
few more levels to play through. As part of that, you'll actually just hit level 65 very naturally, just playing through the new content in the game. This isn't meant to be a long, arduous journey to 65. This is, you're unlocking a bit more power as you play through the game.
And do you get anything with those levels in terms of attributes, and how might that change the game?
For sure, yeah. There are a few attribute points that you end up getting via just straight up leveling, a few via gear score.
Good,
There's actually a few
obviously.
attribute threshold bonuses that you'll be getting that weren't there before. So there's a new one at 350 and there's a new one at 25. And what this means is there's actually a lot more combinations that you can do across your builds to get these attribute threshold bonuses that are going to change your playstyle and kind of create a more unique experience to your build, as well as optimize some unknown builds right now.
The combination of having some early ones so you can like dabble to get a little bit of power, and then some of the big ones. Any changes to weapon mastery to go along with the leveling, Patrick?
Yeah, so we're introducing a new weapon, the flail. And if you're like me, you're going to equip that flail on day one. You're going to want to grind up to
Okay.
weapon mastery 20 so you can be very effective with it. If you're doing that in the live game right now, you're probably going to a POI in Great Cleave or Restless Shores to grind that out. And it takes a little bit of time. It's not as quick and snappy as we'd like. So to that end, we're decreasing the amount of experience you need to level a weapon from 1 to 20 by roughly 30%, with most of those cuts coming on the tail end. So levels 15, 16, 17, and beyond should be a little more smooth and quick, and you should feel that power progression more cleanly.
Awesome.
Okay.
Well, talking about power progression, I think
What was
gear is
your-
also getting a
real quick. What was your favorite weapon in New World? To those of you that did play New World, I think mine was the blunderbuss. I would swap it out. The blunderbuss, and do you guys remember the great axe? I loved the gun, and I think I just had a long sword. I can't remember. And the great sword. Maybe it was a great sword.
a big upgrade. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so we're increasing the max gear score up to 700. So right now that
Okay.
max is 625, with most items capping out their drop at around gear score 600. Now you can acquire items anywhere from gear score 625 up to 700 in the expansion content.
So they drop naturally all the way up to 700.
They drop naturally all the way to 700. So there's no more upgrading an item to get to that maximum power. Now you get to go and go and acquire the exact item that you
Grind.
want at the exact gear score you want. So different content will drop items
enough.
at different gear score ranges. So really hard Mutation 3 content, for example, will drop 695 to 700, giving you the highest odds at that top end content.
Okay.
Other content will drop at different ranges depending on the difficulty of the content.
Patrick, any changes with attributes coming with this higher gear score?
Yeah, so higher gear score items, gear score 675 to 700 roll at legendary, and the top end of those items will give you more attribute bonus points than other items. So if you really want to optimize your build, you're going to be chasing those gear score 700 items to make yourself as powerful as you can be.
Awesome. And combined with the level and the gear, approximately how many more attribute points are people going to be getting?
On average, you'll be seeing around 600 attribute points for most players. So
Harder content,
about
better
100
loot.
more with the expansion, which should open up a lot of fun avenues for new builds.
Awesome. Well, let's jump into the next topic. So you mentioned something about less loot, but loot that matters more. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the high level goal is that one sentence. We want to give you less loot that drops, but we want that loot to matter more.
Yeah, we've heard
You're going
this.
to get items that drop aren't items meaningful to me as a player because of the attributes I have, the weapons I use, and the equip weight bows. All things that I as a
Sorry.
player might use more frequently, or if I'm not personally going to use it, I could probably sell it on the trading post.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a really exciting system for me. The natural question that arises from this is, well, I play multiple builds. How am I going to
Yep.
make sure that what I'm getting from this content is going to help me gear for those different builds? You can easily, as a player, swap your armor loadout to maybe my spear sword build. And then when I open my caches from Outpost Rush or War, now I'm going to have a chance of getting swords out of that. So I can gear myself easily for multiple pieces of content depending on what I'm wearing at the moment I do that content.
New
Awesome.
World is so grindy
Mentioned
and not
we
in a
kinda
fun way. You
maybe
reckon?
they weren't being used.
I didn't have any difficulty leveling up in New World, and I got my character up to 56. I don't know. I can't remember if it was 56, 57, maybe if it was even 58. I honestly can't remember, but this close to level 60. Now they've changed it to 65. I still don't think that's bad. I didn't even get to 60. No, I didn't, because I had new games come out and I gave it a skip and I didn't come back to it. But I got really close. So for sure, I've got the desire now to go back to it. You know, this is exciting. And you're going to get mounts. I really want them to talk about the mounts. Will you be playing Starfield? I will be playing Starfield. Yes, I will be.
To that end, some perks are being removed, such as the siphoning perks. They just didn't have a very high acquisition or use rate. Probably too high of an acquisition rate, definitely too little of a use rate. And so we're removing some perks like that from the game that just aren't seeing use and players don't feel like they're fun. The goal here is when you get an item, you shouldn't say, this item is just not useful because it doesn't have that one perk that makes it useful.
Okay.
To that end, we're removing wards and banes and resilient, and items that you're looking for should just be the perks that you're interested in, not feeling like there's a mandatory perk that you have to have for an item to even be useful.
Okay.
So yeah, we changed a few different perks, as I mentioned, things like some of the weapon mastery perks, so accelerating traps, for example, kind of plays into that fantasy of being like a hunter-trapper. So now the traps, not only do they add a speed bonus, but they also add a bleed effect. So you're dealing a little bit of extra damage if something gets close to you, which would make sense because you were generally keeping things at a bit of a range as a musket. Now you get a little bit of a damage bonus up close via those bleed perks that are on there. And then we ended up adding a few more perks because who doesn't like some new perks, as long as they're good, which we really feel like these ones are very good. I'm very interested in decking out my entire fire staff set. All of the armor will have plus fire damage on it now to give me a nice little bonus to my damage. So we're excited about that, kind of adding a little bit more dynamic perks to the armor sets that help you offensively, not just defensively, and not just kind of like the weapon perks. So there's a little bit more of a combination, a little bit more
That's actually a good
range
idea.
of things that may appeal to you as a player when you see items start dropping coming soon.
Awesome. Works.
Yeah, so one of the things is maybe you have a really good
I want to skip a little bit to the
strength
mount
set.
bit.
Now it's going to add 30 strength as opposed to adding 30 con previously. But if you swap over to a tanking set and you still want to use that item, now it gives you 30 con because that's what you're spec'd into the most. We feel like this will let you feel like the items that you worked really hard to get are even more valuable because you can use them across more builds, and also allows you to kind of experiment with other builds a little bit easier. And hopefully that opens up a lot of new possibilities.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into probably one of my favorite features coming in the expansion. Tell me about artifacts, Patrick.
Yeah, artifacts are awesome. They are gear score 700
Okay.
playstyle build-defining objects you can acquire in the world.
My favorite
So,
topic.
we have a whole set of artifacts coming with the expansion, and you can find these on named enemies in the open world, out of dungeons, the PvP reward track. All sorts of content will be vectors for these artifacts to drop. When you get an artifact, it's a unique one-off item, so it has a unique perk on it that will not exist on any other item in the game. So one example, my personal favorite, is called Scorpion Sting. It is a spear that has javelin as a
He
perk,
loves
but
the
that javelin
javelin,
doesn't
he
push the
said.
enemy away. It pulls them to you. It's
He
going to be
made
super
this
useful
for
for me in
him.
Outpost Rush. When you get Scorpion Sting, you're going to go and you're going to see that it has a bunch of perks on it that are locked behind a quest. So when you equip the spear, you're going to see your HUD change to show the objectives that you need to complete to unlock those perks.
Okay.
As you complete those objectives, it might say go kill Thorpe in the depths, for example. You're going to kill Thorpe,
You
and
have
then
no idea what
immediately
they're
that
talking
perk is
about?
going to unlock, and you're going to have that artifact be slightly more powerful. Eventually, you'll have unlocked every perk on the artifact, and it's going to be a really, really
He's saying
powerful
artifacts
item that
that
you're
are
going to want to
even
make sure you have
potentially linked
equipped.
to
So
quests.
you can have
certain
3 of
quests.
them equipped at a time, 1 weapon, 1 armor piece, and 1 jewelry piece. And hopefully they should really change the way you're playing the game.
Awesome. What about you? You got any favorite artifacts?
No.
Power shield
Don't want to talk about it.
to be able to fire game in a lot of different ways.
Okay.
It's awesome. My favorite probably is the Abyss.
I don't want to listen. No.
Gear score is now equipped, and then you come up.
Give me the mount. You've saved the best for last,
Basically,
haven't
the
you?
item.
At the
I
same
can
time,
tell.
right? To guarantee the gear
I
score.
need to- I
Correct.
need to
You can
skip.
couple that prismatic scarab with the Azoth Inductor.
Where's the mount bit? The mount. Does he not talk about the mount? Crafting changes? They don't talk about the mount? This whole time, I was excited about the mount, and they didn't even talk about it. Crafting changes. That's it. That's the last thing they talk about.
to craft that perfect gear score 700 item.
It's awesome. Hey, well, thanks for joining me today to sort of give
I
an
cannot
overview of
believe
the
that.
big changes
Why would
coming
they
in the
not talk about the
expansion.
mount?
I hope you all enjoyed the segment. Please like and subscribe if you did. We have a community question. We'd love your feedback
Oh,
on the
I've got so many
upcoming changes.
questions.
What changes are you most excited about? And is there any change that you perhaps didn't hear us mention that you had wished?
Yes! To those of you that did play New World, did you end up getting a home? And what are your thoughts on this whole mount thing? That's all I care. What are your thoughts on this? I guess I should ask. But anyways, thank you guys for watching this with me. Of course, I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. I had 3 houses and territories around the map, says Tristan. Nice. Nice. Newer world. I thought a more cooler... Excuse you. Get a knife and stab me in the heart. Just do it. Anyways. All right. Well, we're gonna end this then. We'll say goodbye to YouTube. See you later. Bye. I do want to know how everyone else feels, though. Seriously. On New World, I haven't played the like 2 months after launch. I had 1 house. You played for 2 months and then you got a house. It's exciting for me, says Ryok. See, bye YouTube, bye.